So the last of the fluids in this tractor that I need to change is the hydraulics. And I've got it drained, and I've read that this is actually a filter unit here, and it should be cleaned. Well, I've never seen any video on how to go about doing that, so let's just run the camera here while I go about it, and I guess we'll learn together. Looks like Edith is going to help. Aren't you, kitty girl? That gasket's in pretty rough shape. Filter's not perfect either. Well, looking it over, this looks to be detachable. It's really not nasty and full of crud. I mean, I'm going to be making a new gasket for this thing just because I don't want leaks, but I guess I didn't really know what to expect. Not too daunting, I guess, if you ask me. Oh, okay, I guess there's more stuff in there. Okay, so now you can see there is some crud in there. So we got a little bit of cleaning to do here. Get as much of that old gasket off of there as we can. Okay. Well, there's Edith. I knew you'd come and help. Yeah, look at all this stuff you can knock over into the dirt. Wouldn't that be helpful? Yes. Yes, wouldn't that be fun? Quite honestly, for what little this machine is probably going to get used, this may be the last time this ever gets changed in my lifetime, which is kind of why I wanted to take it apart and clean it now. Just kind of a one and done instead of changing the fluid and always wondering about what condition stuff was like in there. The hydraulics themselves seem to work perfectly on this tractor. So let's, Edith, you're such a good help. Yes, you really are. I'm trying to do this without getting you full of hydraulic oil. You probably wouldn't care, but I know. Yeah, you're a good helper. You purr a little bit louder. Huh? I can still hear myself think. Could you purr just a little bit louder? Yeah, I know. Okay, that's not bad. I'm gonna go clean up that gasket surface on the wire brush. I'm out of gasket material for that thickness. I've got some thicker cork stuff that I don't really want to use for this. So I think we're just going with some ultra black today. I got some more gasket material on order for, this won't happen again, but I want to get this back together so that it can start setting up, and maybe tomorrow we'll be able to put some fluid back in here. At this point, I probably have more, or as much or more, into just filters and fluids for this tractor than I did for the purchase price of the tractor itself. It's been an expensive weekend, but it's all right. A lot of this stuff is kind of a one-time deal. You know, oil, engine oil and filter is the only one that's going to get changed with any sort of regularity. I think that'll work. Guess we gotta go clean up the other gasket surface on the tractor itself, and then we can put this all back together. I suppose, I believe it goes spring and then cone and then filter. So this little filter element is not in perfect condition by any means, but I think it'll be perfectly adequate. Again, considering how extremely little use this is going to get. Why are you being stubborn, you? Okay. Apparently, this little cone-shaped thing has to go in that direction instead. Funny how if you do it wrong, it just doesn't work. Well, after I got the fluids changed out here in the transmission and hydraulics, I've been working on freeing up all of the adjustments on the eagle hitch. So this side is currently soaking. I've been heating and tapping and trying to get it loose, and it's starting to accept penetrating oil a lot easier, so I think I'm making glacial progress there. But we have another problem. As you can see, I got this jacked up right now. Got the clamps off. I've been using this tractor around the place for just odds and ends, and it's a really nice running tractor, starts easy. And yesterday I noticed the bead literally popping off from the rim here on the back tire. So on closer inspection, it appears those steel belts have actually either broken or rusted all the way through. And this is kind of disappointing because this is a pretty nice set of rubber. came off of that H. That's the only reason I bought that H, is I wanted these tires. So all of a sudden now I got one bad one. I no longer have a matched set unless there's something I could do to make this one somehow salvageable. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'm going to at least try. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously this bead does not need to be broke loose, but the other side does. So I'm going to go about doing that. Like I needed any more projects. Again, a little closer. Maybe you can see that's exactly our problem. The bead, the steel belts are just done. So technically, you're not supposed to repair something like this. So I guess if this works, don't do what I'm gonna do. So I'm kind of just thinking on my feet right now. So far, it seems like it likely will work. I don't know if I'm going to put one through these two that are closest to the actual brake. The brake is right here. Kind of tried to center it there. Let's see here. Something like that. I don't think it's going to hurt to put a couple in there. They may not do much. Something like that. Huh? We still got a ways to go, and it's starting to get kind of dark out here, so we'll likely be finishing this up in the morning. But I'm still marginally optimistic that this is going to work. If this wasn't a matched set of tires, this really wouldn't be that big a deal to me. But the fact is, if I can't fix this, I no longer have a matched set, and my OCD just doesn't allow that once I reach the point of paint and cosmetic improvements. So what I'm getting at is I really hope this works. Well, let's see. See if this is a waste of time or not. I guess if this doesn't work, the tire's junk. So to me, it's worth a try. Well, I don't know if you can kind of see that, but hopefully our bead's going to sit nice and flush once we remount it. And I left enough material for holding strength on these. A real close-up view of our broken bead. I don't know if that's a common thing. I mean, I've never seen it before, but these are not premium tires. These are co-ops. I've had a number of co-op tires before. I've never had this problem with them. But I guess we've got 2 layers of rubber On the inside, to insulate between the bolts and the inner tube, we've got those ground. So I dare say if this thing survives being remounted onto the rim, we're probably going to be okay. So let's find out. Our repair survived remounting, I think. It would certainly appear that way. Says we're at 30. $16.2. These were reviewed online, and this seemed to be the most accurate gauge for the money, so I believe this thing a lot more than I believe this Harbor Freight one. They don't always take time to smell the roses, but they do take time to stop and pester the kitties. Because I'm not in that big of a hurry today. Kitties need to be pestered. If there was puppies here, we'd have to pester them too. Yeah. What do you think, Bobcat? Huh? Let's go pester your big brother. Well, I guess. Let's see if I can jack up the tractor so we got more room to put the wheel right into its place. How's that? I bet that'll work. Well, I think for a good preliminary test, maybe fire up and drive around. I got a couple of tractors I could move with it, and put a few revolutions on that tire and see how that repair holds up. I think it's one of those things that's either gonna give out real early or it's gonna last forever. I don't know. I'm not advising that it's a good idea to do what I just did here, but like I said earlier, this is just an experiment. I want to see if this will work. I mean, for now, just being used around the property, not a big deal if I did have a flat tire on this thing. Long term, I think, like I said, I'll be looking for a better set of rubber. As frustrating as that is, because that's that was a good set of rubber, or so I thought. But well, let's fire up and go play for a little bit. So little, I don't know, get worried about even being able to see him. Maybe I'll put him in the garage and try and get the tractor out of the way here. I don't have to worry about running over anybody. You right, buddy?
I do. I appreciate your help. Being worried about the big guy. Yeah.
Turn his ignition off. Show you guys the tire. It seems to be holding up the little bit of use that I've given it here. I'm gonna put the ignition first before I forget. Yeah, here it is. I don't think it's coming out further, but it's one of those, time is gonna tell. So we'll have to see. Technically, I guess, as I get to thinking about it, this John Deere B is slated for a new home at some point, and he's got a nice set of the exact same size wheels and tires. So I could swap them out. It would mean painting these rims silver and painting those rims yellow. Not a big deal. These tires are not, oh, fantastic, but they are, well, excellent tread with weather checking. I don't know how to show how much tread there is, but it's significantly deeper than my finger, like 1.5 or 2 of my fingers deep. And I got big fingers, so I'm gonna say they're a good 90% or better. And they match, and they're the 11.2 by 38. So that's one option we could do for our case friend. I mean, I kind of hate to get rid of this tractor, but I'm at that point where I have too many, and I've got another John Deere B that's restored. It just doesn't make sense to keep duplicates, as much as I like this one. So picked up a flywheel, clutch cover, I guess that'd be called, clutch cover, at Le Sueur, Minnesota this spring. Because that was really the only piece that was missing on this whole tractor. Yeah. At some point I'll probably kick myself for getting rid of it, but one of those deals where whether it's got those tires on it or those tires isn't really going to affect the value too much. So we'll see, but case is at least repaired and alive and well, and it distracted me from doing any of the things I actually had planned on doing today. So I successfully avoided doing any responsible work once again, including, but not limited to, a certain project going on over there that I haven't touched that yet today. That's just the way my life goes, I guess. Anyhow, I better actually get going and, well, maybe touch that today.